chose this strange topic on purpose, and that is, the Quran's remedy for sadness. And that's the beauty of the Arabic language. What we're learning from that is you will have states of sadness in life, in this world. Huzn will be there, but a perpetual state of sadness is actually not for you. And whatever huzn you're going through is nothing compared to the huzn of that day. Whatever grief you're going through, whatever suffering or emotional trauma you're going through, and I'm not minimizing it in any way, but what Allah is saying is the huzn of that day is the actual huzn. It's the actual huzn. And it's not like if you feel sad, you must not have good iman. That's not true either. We'll talk about that a little. That'll be my second part. Is it true that if we really had iman, we would never be sad? No, absolutely not. That's not true at all. Prophets experienced a great deal of sadness. Sadness is a part of life. It's a reality of life. The Quran is not there to eliminate sadness. The Quran is there to help us navigate it. That the Quran, in fact, addresses pretty much every dilemma the human being goes through. Every human being goes through either physical, moral, spiritual, internal, psychological crises. And Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed this book to us and the beautiful sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to actually help us navigate these crises, because He made us with these emotions. But in the Battle of Uhud, the Muslims suffered tremendously. There was the sadness of the lack of discipline. There was the sadness of the loss of strategic, very important Muslim leaders, 70 of them. There was the sadness of the rumor spreading that the Prophet's been killed. There was the sadness of him losing his tooth and actually falling unconscious. There was the humiliating sadness of the Muslims having to retreat up a mountain. There were sadnesses piled one on top of the other, and things weren't looking like they were getting any better. Which kind of sadness is it when things don't look like they're going to get better? Clouds ain't going away. Bad things are going to happen. Allah says, فَأَصَابَكُمْ غَمًّا بِغَمٍّ I hit you. I targeted you with gham after gham. I targeted you with gham upon gham upon gham upon gham upon gham. Why? لِكَيْ لَا تَأْسَوْا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ. So you stop worrying so much. So you stop worrying about what you lose. You stop becoming sad. That's so. The other word for sadness is used now, right? So to look back and regret. Oh man, this bad thing happens, which means the next bad thing will happen, which means there's a domino effect. Allah says, I gave you so much calamity, so you'll learn. So you'll learn not to think that the next thing is going to be bad also. Why? Because, this is how I explain it. When somebody has one problem, they're depressed. When they have two problems, they're even more depressed. When they have 200 problems, they just go. It's all good, bro. It's all good, homie. Once you get that many problems, ain't no problem. Whatever, Allah says, I hit you with so many problems, so you stop worrying about your problems. So you realize you're not in control. Allah is. And just chill out. Stop trying to control everything. SubhanAllah. Alright. So, Musa alayhi salam just helped, by Allah's permission, his nation escape Egypt. These people have been in slavery for quite some time. Slavery a happy time or a sad time? Sad time. What adds to that sadness is that the people that are walking across the body of water have living memory of babies being slaughtered in front of their eyes, their own children not just dying, being murdered. Is that a memory that just disappears? No. There is, even though they have escaped the clutches of Fir'aun, these people have lived a life of indescribable sadness. It's not just the loss of a child, it's the loss of thousands of children in front of the eyes of the parents, at the hands of merciless soldiers. This was a policy of Egypt. So you have a bunch of grieving parents that are escaping Egypt. A bunch of grieving parents. And Musa alayhi salam has helped them escape. Now they're on the other side. Has the sadness disappeared? No. Now Musa alayhi salam is going to give them a khutbah. Now you would think in this khutbah he's going to tell them to be patient. Because when someone is sad, what do we usually tell them? Be patient. Nobody ever tells you how. Everybody says be patient. Patience is a goal. There's no how to patience. You get there. You can't just say, oh, be patient, okay. Patient, got it. You can't do that. Still not coming, still not coming. You have to do certain other things that get you to patience. Patience is not something you can just do. It's an acquired power. It's an acquired, power. It's not something that's innate inside of us. It has to be nurtured, built. So the question in this khutbah, what I feel, is that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave us the key to nurture patience. As a matter of fact, they're out in the middle of the desert, they don't have food supplies, and there's the sadness and trauma of that terrible history that they've lived. And yet Allah Azza wa Jalla, through the mouth of Musa alayhi salam, has them listen to this khutbah. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Your master said if you could just be grateful even a little bit, he would absolutely guarantee, he said, I guarantee I will increase for you. I will give you more and more and more and more and more. What did he bring up? What things should you do? Be patient? No, be what? Be grateful. How are you telling the people that live nothing but misery? They've lived nothing but misery. And you're getting up on the minbar and you're telling them you need to be what? Grateful. You need to be grateful. This is the key remedy to sadness. The change of thought. Instead of thinking about patience, because patience means you're thinking about the trouble you had and now you're being patient over it. The messenger, Musa alayhi salam, changed the mindset of the entire people. He's saying, hey, don't think about the sad things that have happened in your life. You need to focus on the good things that have happened in your life. And when you focus on the good things that have happened in your life, who will you give credit to? Allah Azza wa Jal, and that will make you grateful. And when you become grateful, what becomes easy? Patience becomes easy. When gratitude is not there, patience is impossible. Why do our ulama call sabr and shukr two wings of a bird? Bird can't fly with one wing. Why do they call it that? There's a reason. Because without gratitude, these people can't move on with their life. I told you one of the most traumatic experiences emotionally in the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the loss of a beloved son. What adds to the misery of this event is, of course, Abu Lahab and his wife. Thus all of this is happening. And two surahs are revealed. Surah Al-Lahab, which probably all of you are familiar with. But interestingly, and more importantly, Surah Al-Kawthar. Surah Al-Kawthar is revealed. And Surah Al-Kawthar doesn't even address what the Prophet lost. And we all know what the Prophet lost, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's hard to stop thinking about it. It's hard, And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar." We gave you Kawthar. We gave you Al-Kawthar. Here you are thinking about what you just lost, and Allah is changing your thoughts entirely and making you think about what Allah just gave you. This is the ultimate remedy of sadness. You just think to yourself, Allah has given me a lot. Allah is telling His Messenger, in the hardest of times, I have given you the ultimate abundance. And your sadness will go away. The Muslims will have to learn these remedies from the Quran. These are not going to come to you. I can talk about this. But it's not going to stick with you. What will stick with you is your relationship with the Quran. And when Allah removes your sadness from the Quran, when you personally become you have an emotional attachment to this word, to the word of Allah. When that happens for you, you will not be overwhelmed by sadness. Sadness will come and Allah will take it away. Then it will come and Allah will take it away again. And it will come and Allah will take it away again. It's not like when Allah said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar," he never experienced sadness again. He did, but Allah kept taking it away and taking it away and taking it away. So the Quran itself is a remedy. And if you have a distant relationship with the Quran, I don't know, then maybe some pills. I would like to describe or divide, generally speaking, the emotion of sadness into three categories. There's sadness that you brought upon yourself as a result of something you've done. It's your fault. And you know that. That's sadness you brought upon yourself. Then there's sadness brought upon you by others. Something they said, something they did, something somehow they had an effect on you, and that brought sadness upon you. And the third circumstance of sadness is a sadness that's a result of a circumstance. You can't even blame a person. It could be something like a car accident. It could be like an earthquake. It could be anything. It could be a sickness. It could be whatever. And so there are these three circumstances. In the first circumstance, The first circumstance, what was it again? What was the first circumstance? Something you've done yourself, and you're depressed about something you did. A lot of people have that. My recommendation is for you to carefully study the dua made by Musa alayhi salam. And you'll notice, as I talk, you'll notice that I keep trying to illustrate to you, the subject of my talk was the Qur'an's remedy for sadness. There's not one, there are thousands of remedies in the Qur'an for sadness, but I keep alluding to the fact that every time I get close to talking about a solution, what comes up? Dua. Every time I start talking about a solution, what comes up again? Dua comes up. Adam alayhi salam was sad, what did Allah give him? Allah gave him a dua. You have Ilyas alayhi salam, really just in a state of depression, sadness, and he says, I will only complain to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Right? So you have these prophetic situations and they all turn into du'as. Now this dua is which prophet? When you made a mistake yourself? Musa alayhi salam. I'm sure you've done some pretty bad things, but I'm pretty sure you didn't punch a guy and he died. Don't raise your hand, please. Police here, just relax, okay? They're not here, you didn't have to check. When you've done something wrong, you are one of the victims. You're not just the criminal, Allah makes you suffer internally for that. You pay the price. But even if it was an honest mistake, in the case of Musa alayhi salam, that guilt of taking another life is not something easy to swallow. It doesn't leave you alone. But Allah inspired him with this beautiful dua. رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٍ. That is actually the key to moving on with life. If you've made a mistake and you don't know how to move on with life, learn from the dua of Musa alayhi salam. Master, no doubt about it, me, whatever good you send my way, I am desperately in need. My back is broken, I am not capable. Whatever good you send my way, I can use it. Let me explain what we mean by good here. Good means two things. Ya Allah, give me good opportunities in life. Ya Allah, don't let the mistake I made make the rest of my life a bad experience. Don't give me sadness after sadness after sadness. Give me positive experiences and good opportunities in life. By the way, right after that dua, Musa alayhi salam got a job in the next ayah. Right, he made that dua, next ayah he got hired. And married. One ayah. It's pretty awesome. And that next ayah starts with a fa, which means therefore. Therefore, the girl came, called him to the dad, he told the story, she said, I'd like to, let's hire him, and the whole thing worked out. But all as a result of his dua. What we're learning that because that little fa in the ayah in Surah Al-Qasas is that du'as can have a serious impact on the rest of your life. Where am I going to find a job? I'm homeless, I'm a fugitive from the law, I ran away from Egypt, I don't even know my way around here, I'm just sitting by a puddle of water. I don't even, my shoes are torn up, my clothes are beat up, I'm sitting under a tree, I don't even know if this tree belongs to someone that kicks me out of here. Next thing, Ya Allah, send some good my way, boom, got a job, married a girl, moved in, 8-year visa, set. Everything. The other meaning of khair that's more relevant to our conversation here. If you have made a mistake in your past, if you've made a major mistake in your past, then the only way to move on is to become desperate to do good deeds. He's asking Allah, Master, whatever opportunity you give me to do good, I will jump on it. I am bankrupt. Like someone bankrupt jumping towards a coin, I will jump towards a good deed. Helping someone, doing something good. Master, just give me the chance, I will do it. I have hurt another human being, I will spend the rest of my life helping human beings. This dua he made right after he helped a couple of girls get some food or some water for their animals. Then he sat down and said, Ya Allah, any other voluntary deed, hook me up. If you need me to volunteer for anything else, I'm available. Because I know what I've done in my past, and I know the only way I will know that you have blessed me in my life is if you give me opportunity to do good deeds. If you've done messed up things in the past, the way you compensate for that is you go out of your way to do what? Good things. And the lesson in Surah Al-Qasas is, the number one kind of good thing is not make more salah or make more dua. That's standard anyway. You have to do that anyway. Help people. Do good things for people. Mend relations. Visit the sick. Take care of your parents. Visit your grandparents. Talk to the cousin that you hate. Send them a gift. That stuff. In our worldview, in the Islamic worldview of dealing with, what they call is mental illness, right? That's what they call it nowadays. But we don't call it an illness. Everything Allah created on this earth. Everything Allah created on this earth. Allah gave it a quality, especially human beings. He says in Surah Al-Rahman, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ. Everyone upon this earth, every human being that is, man refers to the living and includes the jinn also. He uses the word fana, fan. Fan is something that is meant to die. Fan is something that's got a timer on it. You know, the clock is ticking on every one of us. So in a building, just like in a building, there's deterioration happening. But when deterioration happens, you blame the architect. You say, hey, this architect didn't do a good job. Look, the paint's chipping and the bricks are falling apart, etc. Or the plumbing's no good anymore. But actually, when the human being starts having issues, that's not because the architect missed something, but by design it was supposed to actually go through certain challenges. But those challenges, we should not call them flaws. They're actually tests that Allah put inside of us. Emotional ones, physical ones. Those are tests that all of us have to go through. And like one of the most beautiful expressions I found in Arabic about psychology, they say, رُبَّ قَوْلٍ أَشَدُّ مِنْ صَوْلٍ. They say perhaps words can hurt more than a beating does. They understood that words can actually have an impact on, not physically, you're not injured, you're not bleeding when somebody says mean things to you, but they can tear you down. They can make you not want to get up in the morning. Words can be enough to make somebody suicidal. It happens. Especially dealing with the subject of sadness and depression. The first word used in the Quran for sadness is al-gham. There are several words used, and the first in the Quran we find is al-gham. Ghayn, mim, mim are the root origins. The same word is used, a variation of that word is ghamam, which actually means clouds in the sky. And if clouds remain and no sunlight is able to break through, that kind of a cloud is called ghamam. Sometimes you have clouds that light comes through. Sometimes you have clouds that light is completely blocked, right? And if that remains for a long time, it can get pretty depressing. Right? If the weather remains cloudy for an extensively long amount of time and you don't see sunlight, then it gets pretty depressing, which explains the psychological state of most of the people in the United Kingdom, because it's cloudy most of the time, right? But, you know, so, situations did Allah describe gham with? And the study of that, how will that help me deal with someone who keeps thinking the future is bleak, who never sees the bright side of things, who's always looking at the glass as half empty, someone who's pessimistic all the time, negative all the time. Don't look at the person next to you. But, like, you know, but you can have people like that are all, and you become. The next term, very popular term in the Quran, commonly used is al-huzn. Al-huzn, and the root letters for that are ha, za, and nun. And this is for one to remain unhappy or uneasy about something. You're not settled about something. It's keeping you from going to sleep. You keep worrying about something. It's actually the opposite of farah. Farah actually means you can't sleep because you're too happy. That's farah. It's the exact opposite. Now you can't sleep because you're too sad, you're too depressed, you're too worried. You keep thinking about something and it's not letting you go. Maybe you've been looking for a job for a long time, you can't find it. It's all you're thinking about. You're driving, you're thinking about it. Maybe you were, about to get married, and 2 months before the marriage, the other family said, no, we don't like you anymore. Assalamu alaikum. And you're in depression. Like I had everything set. You printed the cards. It was up on my Facebook page, and now they say that huzn is an onset. It sets into a person after an incident. Something happens, and as a result, you become depressed. You were hoping something worked out your way, and it didn't work out your way. In other words, Allah is saying, they will have no grief, they will have no fears on them, Judgment Day. Believers will have no fears on them, and it won't be they that are in a state of sadness. It's not them that are going to be in a state of sadness. What does that seem to indicate? If it's not them that are in a state of sadness, that means somebody else is going to be. The hum there actually indicates somebody else in between parentheses. That's the beauty of the Arabic language. What we're learning from that is you will have states of sadness in life, in this world. Huzn will be there. But a perpetual state of sadness is actually not for you. And whatever huzn you're going through is nothing compared to the huzn of that day. Whatever grief you're going through, whatever suffering or emotional trauma you're going through, and I'm not minimizing it in any way, but what Allah is saying is the huzn of that day is the actual huzn. It's the actual huzn. And it's not like if you feel sad, you must not have good iman. That's not true either. We'll talk about that a little. That'll be my second part. Is it true that if we really had iman, we would never be sad? No, absolutely not. That's not true at all. Prophets experienced a great deal of sadness. Sadness is a part of life. It's a reality of life. The Quran is not there to eliminate sadness. The Quran is there to help us navigate it. Because it is one of the tests of life. Just like happiness is one of the tests of life. Just like anger is one of the tests of life. It's not like you can eliminate anger. You can't. These are emotions that were programmed inside of us. It's like saying, like you're eliminating one of the things that is inside you, like a limb. These are the unseen limbs of our being. right? These emotions that we have. The third word is al-bath. Bath, ba, tha, tha. This is the one that a lot of people have, by the way, in the contemporary sense. Al-bath is a kind of sadness that is deeply penetrated. It's inside a person, and it starts impacting everything that they do, and they're not able to verbalize it. They're not able to actually say what it is. So they have this deeply felt sadness inside them, and it lingers, and it's always there. So even when the moment comes to smile, the face goes halfway up and comes back down. If you're feeling you're the only one who has this, as a matter of fact, the word bath occurs in the Quran in one of the du'as, that a prophet of Allah experienced continuous bath and huzn. إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I complain about my bath. I'm not translating now. I'm complaining about, Allah says, He says, this prophet says, I'm complaining about my bath and my huzn to Allah. To Allah. What does the dua teach us? You can even complain to Allah. Just what that ayah teaches us, I don't complain to anybody else. I talk about my suffering and my pain, and what does the complaining mean? Complaining doesn't mean, Ya Allah, come on. I'm so depressed. Help me out here. No. You know when you go to the doctor and complain? You don't slap the doctor and say, hey bro, you don't talk like, why'd you make me have allergies? You go and complain to the doctor because the complaint is actually a form of you getting his sympathy and his healing, his prescription. Kind of categorized it, right? So this word asaf actually means when sadness, that emotion of sadness, turns into something else. Like for example, you're upset about something. You're upset about, maybe you got a bad grade, right? You took an exam, midterm, you crammed as much as you could, but you were half asleep when you were taking the test. You got a 40 on your test, and then you come out and you're extra mean and snappy with your friend. Then you're experiencing asaf, because the sadness from one thing is translating into anger in other things. Different cases in the Quran where Allah describes, in fact, that sadness is a reality, and therefore you're not any less of a person for experiencing sadness. Iman, having good iman, having strong faith does not mean you're guaranteed happiness. Those are not equivalents, in this world at least. This is important because it's teaching us sometimes the most painful blows and the most traumatic sadness you will experience in your life will be from family. There will not be some stranger that will cause you sadness. It will be people that are closest to you, because they have such close access to your heart. So when they can mess up, they can really mess you up. Parents can mess you up. Children can mess you up. Husband and wife can mess you up. Uncles can mess you up. Cousins can mess you up. Those people that we love the most can also hurt us the most. Then, Adam alayhi salam and his sadness. His sadness with Allah. Has Allah forgiven me or not? I was in Jannah just a couple of minutes ago, and now I'm where? On the earth. Kind of wandering around figuring out what to do. Last thing I know, Allah was not happy with me. I did something I shouldn't have done. Are people in that position ever? That they did something they shouldn't have done, and then life takes a bad turn, and they start thinking, maybe I've done something wrong? That's a study of Adam alayhi salam's situation. He was in that situation. How do I know if Allah has forgiven me or not? And Allah gave him a gift. People come and ask, how do you know if Allah has forgiven you? How did Adam know if Allah has forgiven him? He didn't. Then Allah gave him a gift. Allah gave Adam alayhi salam a gift. Allah says, Allah brought Adam into contact, alayhi salam, He brought him into contact with words and then accepted his repentance. Right? And in that surah, in Baqarah, Allah didn't even tell what those words were. He didn't even say what they were. He just said Adam was brought into contact with words from his master, and as a result of those words, therefore, he accepted his repentance. Meaning, if you guys could have access to those words, Adam alayhi salam messed up pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And even he's given these incredible words, and he used them sincerely, and then Allah forgave him. So when somebody asks, how do I know if Allah's forgiven me? I say, well, we are children of Adam, so we did inherit the gift. What did we get in inheritance that we can know that Allah has forgiven us? رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That dua is an inherited dua to know that you've been forgiven. That's a very powerful thing to know. To answer that very deep and very sad, very heavy question.
Even in a Muslim community, is it possible our iman goes down? Is it possible that we don't feel as close to Allah in one generation after the next, that we're becoming further and further away from Allah? Is it possible we're becoming more materialistic, more ghafil of Allah, that we don't cry in salat anymore, that we don't feel like reciting Quran much anymore? Our du'as have become empty. We just recite some words and say them, we don't even know what they mean, and we don't even care. Is that possible? Is that problem possible? When a Muslim community has that problem, how can they fix it again? How can they get back on track? These are the ayat. These are the ayat. Which means these ayat will be relevant for you and me. Not just as a nation, even as a person. Forget about the entire country. Forget about the entire ummah. Just think about yourself. Aren't there days where you have become so far from Allah that you need to get back and you don't even know how? Where do you begin? I feel so distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's been so long since I cried in a salah. It's been so long since I felt a connection with Him. How do I feel that connection? So many people ask that question. It is in these ayat that the answer lies. Step 1, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. He recites onto them what? His ayat. We have to engage the word of Allah. We have to recite the word of Allah. We have to stop and think about the word of Allah. We have to think about the fact that every time Allah is speaking, He's talking to me. He's talking to me directly. Wallahi, the greatest gift you will ever have in your life is the gift of Allah's speech. Allah chose to speak to you. Allah chose to speak to me in this book. No other religion gives you this kind of direct access to Allah, that Allah is talking to you and me. But some people say, no, but Allah is only talking to the Prophet ﷺ. He's not talking to me. This is not a book for me. This is a book for the ulama, for the scholars. I just recited with tajweed, but I'm not supposed to think about it. Fihi dhikrukum, Allah says. In it, Allah is talking about you. That's literally what He says. In it is your mention. It's about you.